Hi everyone, this is Neel, Raithatha, consultant, audiologist and director of Clearwax. Thank you for joining me in my latest video using the WAXscope. And here we have a patient who attended with bilateral, fully occluding earwax, and I'm commencing with their left ear first. We're using our size 2 medium WAXscope teardrop specular. As soon as I made contact with the surface of the lateral wax, it was just really hard and dry. So I'm just using an ear hook. Now, with the wax, particularly in the right side, which I've also going to show you, the wax is quite crumbly on that side. Here, it did remove some of the wax, but it also did dissect through another section. So I am also going to use a curette on this side. So I'm just focusing a bit deeper. You can see there's a bit of an opening there. So I'm just inserting the curette over and beyond as much as I can safely, and then slowly bringing this wax forwards. With the curette, you've got a bit more surface area because of the shape of the tip. There's a bit of dead skin as well. I'm going to use the ear hook again in a moment. There's one piece that was quite firm, but I'm just going to remove this section here. I think we use the curette again, just getting over and beyond. And I'm just going to slowly glide this forward. Now, if this wax was any softer, it would smear against the floor of the ear canal. There was a bit of smearing here, but it was dense enough to kind of coagulate. So as I was bringing it away, it wasn't staining the canal. It kind of came out in one piece. So there's a lot of wax. You may have seen the intro video to it. So that was the left and right ear. I kept them separate. I think the wax on the right-hand side of the tissue was their left side. In fact, this is their left ear, but the right ear is even worse. So again, a bit of hardened wax keratin, quite reflective. So at the beginning of the video, I did reduce the brightness because we were getting a bit of reflection. What's great with the Clearwax app, when we reduce brightness, you can be really precise. It's a little slider, so you can go to the exact point, you can go backwards and forwards instead of circulating from one brightness level to the next predetermined step. So we can actually really personalize it. So I'm just using the hook there. I think the wax more immediately was a bit softer. The patient had been using some drops. So the patient is a police officer, so they've been struggling to hear with the radio piece. They normally wear it in their left ear, and advised me that his mum's a retired nurse, and I showed him the metal ear syringe that I've now got in the clinic, which got given to me as a gift by another patient. And he said, yep, that's what mum used to use many, many years ago. And they are still a bit of the patient's mum, still a bit of a fan of irrigation. So you can see you can see the short process of the malleus, the hammer bone, is very prominent, and there's an attic retraction there. So immediately I thought this patient has got active eustachian tube dysfunction. So the eustachian tube is blocked, which is preventing the middle ear aerating. So it then creates a vacuum, negative pressure, and the eardrum gets sucked in, and it typically gets sucked in at the top, the attic, and also the posterior superior quadrants. In the left ear, that would be northeast, and the right ear would be northwest. And that's because the attic region, and more generally the pars flaccida, which is between 10 and 11 o'clock, and also more, as I said, northeast or northwest, depending upon which ear, those regions of the eardrum are more elastic. Now, it doesn't mean the other regions of the eardrum, it's not possible to get it retracted, but it's normally those regions that are more retracted. However, following on from that, I did then do a test that we call tympanometry. Tympanometry measures the mobility of your eardrum, how mobile it is, and so how much elastic it is, in terms of, you can get an eardrum that as soon as you change pressure, it vibrates, or it requires more pressure and it vibrates more gradually. So it's got a wider gradient. It also measures the ear canal volume and the pressure behind your eardrum. It's a very clever test. It's never 100% accurate, but more often than not it is. And the science and physics behind it is just amazing. Have I got time to explain it? Possibly. But yeah, so I did a pressure test, and actually it showed that their left ear was fine. The pressure behind the eardrum was fine. So very plausible explanation. is that this patient previously had a blocked eustachian tube, created negative pressure, the attic region got sucked in, and the eardrum, both the outer and innermost layer, is quite sticky. So it seems like it's stuck to the neck of the malleus, the scutum region. So it's like a pseudo appearance of a blocked eustachian tube because they previously had one. Now, although that eardrum is sucked in, the pressure was absolutely fine behind the eardrum. What potential problems can that attic retraction then cause? Typically none, it doesn't really affect your hearing. The one thing we're going to be wary about, it creates a retraction pocket. It's a dead skin migrating off the eardrum can embed itself in that retraction pocket. But fortunately for this patient, it was self-cleansing, the skin was migrating away. Because if it does migrate within the retraction pocket, it can form into a cyst, a dead skin cyst called a cholesteatoma, which I've talked about it many times, can be very dangerous. So I'll just explain one of the about tympanometry. So we measure middle ear admittance, so how much sound is admitted through the eardrum, through the middle ear, so the ossicular chain, the three bones, by actually measuring the middle ear impedance. So we're doing a reverse measurement. So we've got a probe that we put in the ear. It's got multiple probes, 3 in total. One changes the pressure. So the other one plays a tone, and the other one's a microphone. So essentially, the eardrum is most mobile when the pressure is equal either side of it. So with this pressure sweep that we do, when we get the most mobility, the way we measure the mobility is we play a sound, and the sound hits the eardrum and some of it invariably will reflect back. The less sound that is rebounded and picked up by the microphone, it therefore means more sound is being absorbed and admitted into the middle ear. So that's how we measure how mobile the eardrum is. We play a sound, we measure the reflection back. If we don't get any reflection back of sound, which is measured to the microphone, the sound is getting through. If we're getting a lot of sound rebounding back, being collected by the microphone, it means the middle ear, the eardrum is not vibrating as well, it's not absorbing the sound. So we do that, we play that sound continuously, and we change the pressure. So we're looking at the point where we're getting most sound reflecting back, which means, the least amount of sound reflecting back, because that means more sound is being absorbed. And we measure out exactly what pressure that's occurring at. And ideally that pressure should be plus or minus 50 decapascals. And that's how we kind of know if the pressure is correct, because if more sound is being absorbed by the eardrum with the pressure being more negative, it tells us that there's negative pressure behind the eardrum. Because as I said, the eardrum is most mobile when the air pressure is equally the side. Hopefully I've explained that pretty well. Probably need to explain it in more detail. I did it off the cuff almost, and it is quite a tricky thing to explain. There's some still images of the wax on both ears. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Take care.